Let me continue reviewing for a second. Where do we find epithelial tissue?
In skin.
Speak up for me.
In skin.
In the skin. Skin is epithelial tissue. Where else did I say it was common to find it? It makes epithelial tissue can come together to make up mucous membranes. And mucous membranes cover what? Where do we find those in the body?
Is that the openings of the body?
Right. And we said some of those are our mouth, things like the rectum, nasal and airway passages, urethra, your conjunctiva. Do you remember why I said it was the form of epithelial tissue lends to its function? Do you remember me saying something about a single cell thick versus multiple cells thick? Okay. Tell me a little bit about that. Where is it one cell thick at? Where do we exchange gas? In our bodies.
Your lungs?
Lungs, respiratory system. And gas exchange has to happen quick, right? And so do you think cells are really thick there or not so thick in layers? Right, they're a single cell thick. That's how thin they are actually. Okay? What's the other one I'm looking for? They're connective. Let me drive this home because it's kind of like you're getting to know, kind of getting to know anatomy as a friend. Like you shouldn't be thinking of, you gotta start thinking like sort of a scientist in a way. You don't say, oh, I just burnt the skin off the roof of my mouth. You say, oh, I got a epithelial tissue injury in there. You could potentially say a word like that because you know what that word means. You wouldn't really speak like that. But I'm wanting you to start thinking like an anatomy professional, okay? So epithelial tissue, I just want to explain it to you for a few more minutes. I've already kind of hit this as much as I'm going to. And we're going to talk about these briefly. So we got multiple layers thick or single layer thick. It's characteristics of epithelial tissue. Okay. These types of cells can be epithelial cells comes in many shapes and sizes. Depends on their job. And then found in skin, mucous membranes, and then what we really haven't talked about is bladder, because it can expand and contract. That's helpful, right? Because our bladder gets full sometimes. So we need cells that are able to take a little bit of mechanical stress and then go back to where they were. Bladder, can you give me another area you might think this epithelial tissue could be located?
Uterus?
Huh?
Would it be like a uterus too?
I think a uterus is one, yes, for sure. I was thinking of digestive tract. That's an opening, right? Technically our mouth and our alimentary canal. Any questions about that? So I just want to show you how the shapes of these cells I'm talking about lend to their function. All right? We're still just talking about one type of tissue, and I'm kind of just giving you an idea of, hey, this is a really cool thing about anatomy, and this is what you're going to get when you study this subject. Cool stuff like this. So I want you to think about your gut, where you eat food, the food is broken down and absorbed, nutrients are absorbed, right? Well, to go from a donut to, let's say, you know, a molecule, and you know, this is like a molecule we need. It might be sugar that gives our cells energy, it might be iron, whatever we have to eat and to get nutrients from, okay? To get from a donut to this, where it can be used in our blood, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen, right? It has to be absorbed, broken down. So this is a donut. This is a molecule. And when we put the donut in our mouth, you know, it's got to be mechanically broken down. It gets mushy, right? Our saliva starts to digest it. Guess what our saliva does to certain proteins? Do you think it makes them broken down where we can get to this stage faster? It does. It also lubricates the food. But guess what's in your stomach? Even more stuff that's going to break down these large complex molecules that are in donut form and take them into something smaller, right? It has to be physically digested. So you got stomach, small intestine, okay? And this is sort of where the magic happens in terms of absorption into our blood. This is where you get most of your nutrients from. And you can chill with me. You don't have to know exactly how this works right now. I'm just giving you an example of different types of cell jobs, okay? I'll tell you what you need to make sure you can, if you want to write it down, I would encourage it, but I'll tell you what's testable. And so finally we got to get to a cell, right? A cell on the, if I have my small intestine here, and I were to zoom in and look at the cellular level here, at the lining of this wall, these cells, what do they look like? How are they able to take this molecule move it from the cell to the blood? How does that happen? Okay, well, if I were to look at the wall of my small intestine and the cells there, they would look something like this. They're epithelial cells. They're tall, which we would call columnar epithelial cells, like a column. And they have these projections on the top surface that are called villi, or little fingers is the Latin or Greek word. Okay? And they're going to be lined up like that all the way down your digestive tract on both sides. And so I want you, when nutrients are taken in from your gut that you've been chewing and they're being absorbed by the fingers of this cell, because they're tall, that allows nutrients to be absorbed more slowly, because guess what's on the other side of this cell? Blood. This is where it finally gets to the blood. It's got to go through this cell first. Trillions of them that line your gut. So this cell will take that complex molecule, break it down into something we need, and package that and export it into the blood, and there we go. That's how things get from our mouth to the blood. But this cell, the way it's formed, I keep saying something about form and function, okay? It's a tall, slender one, and that allows for nutrients to be absorbed slowly down gradients like concentration gradients and stuff that you remember from science and osmosis and all that. Another cool thing about this is, okay, this cell right here, what is this? The nucleus, right? Yeah, if this is a cell, our DNA's in there. What is this thing on the outside?
Cell membrane.
Cell membrane. This is a cell. It has a nucleus, and it also has a cell membrane. But its membrane is specially formed with these. Why are they waved like fingers? Marissa, you tell me. Is this line longer than this line? If I were to take this and stretch it out, So these finger-like projections here, they give me more surface area to absorb more nutrients. Pretty cool, right? That's just the way one piece of epithelial tissue is formed for its function. Okay, it's got a larger surface area to absorb stuff, and it helps with this way. So let's look at a bladder cell, epithelial cell, okay? I want somebody to read under epithelial tissue on page 70.